I'm going to press record now. So we can actually have a recording of this for later. So it is day 3 of the Magik Method, and I am so excited. I'm so happy if you're here watching live that I can see is now officially in the group. And I'm excited if you are watching later and you're watching the replay, because life is busy and we all have things we have to do. So whether you're here live or whether you're watching later, I am genuinely overjoyed that you would even take the time for yourself to dive into this work, especially with me as your guide. So let's go ahead and jump in to the meat and potatoes of everything. Really quickly, I did want to mention that I said I was going to announce the winner of the $50 gift card and another surprise on this call. I have chosen to wait one more day because of so many people having to watch the replay and having to watch later. I want everybody who wants a chance to be able to have that chance. So I will come into this group tomorrow. I don't know what time. I'll come in at some time tomorrow and I will announce the winners of both of the giveaways. That is my promise, okay? So let's go ahead and dive in. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Let's see. Take me just a second. All right. So we are continuing on from our first pillar and our second pillar. We are continuing now, and we're going to wrap everything up and bring it all full circle today with the third pillar of the Magik Method and the fourth pillar. We're putting them both together because I feel like as you're going along, I wanted to break everything out to where you could really easily take each day and kind of like put these tangible things in place. And so that's why I've broken it out. But I didn't want anything to be too long either. So I feel like this is a good putting the third and the fourth together. You're going to kind of see why I did that. And you're also going to see how this is all coming full circle. And once you have all of these components in place, how everything just starts to truly flow. And you're going to even see some examples of that today. Okay, so the third pillar is alignment. So what do I mean by that? And I've got my phone over here. If you have any questions, just pop them into that chat. Okay. So first we did the vision, right? We have to get clear on what it is that our soul is guiding us to do. And we have to kind of begin with that end in mind. Then the second pillar, and if you haven't watched the first 2 days, pause off of this one and go watch the first 2. The second pillar is all about this magical self, right? Your self-image, what you believe is actually possible for you, and how to create this fullest potential version of you that you can then embody to create all of the results that you want to create. And then today we're going to start with the third pillar, and that is all about alignment, kind of bringing everything together, aligning the subconscious and the conscious, and removing all of those things that we talked about on that first day with the 5 different kind of like those top 5 things that you say to yourself that are not helpful at all. What are those and how can we remove them? And we're going to talk about that today. So first of all, we have to kind of understand the conscious and the subconscious. So we talked a little bit about that already, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into that today. So your subconscious mind, it has to be fully aligned with the conscious mind, or that's when we hit that ceiling, right? So we talked about the ceiling. We talked about how that thermostat on the wall is kind of set at a certain place. And that is essentially your subconscious internal setting. And your conscious mind, though, is going off on these other things. It's like, but I really want a really successful business, and I really want 5 more clients, and I really want to go on a vacation this year, and I really want blah, 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 right? Our conscious mind says, I want this, I want this, I want this. But if that internal setting is set to not have those things, then you can't have those things. It is in charge, essentially. So we have to figure out how to like align these two things. Because if we don't, that's when problems arise. That's when you hesitate, you procrastinate, you're indecisive, you self-sabotage, you continue to have those negative thoughts. But once you kind of do this, once you kind of have that full alignment, everything starts to really pop into place. That's when you're in the right place at the right time. That's when you get the brilliant idea to do X, Y, or Z. And then automatically you just start, it all starts unfolding. Everything starts happening. And it will always happen in a way that you don't even really necessarily fully expect. And it is like, it will surprise you how this stuff starts to really flow and come together. It's really cool. So the conscious mind, like I was saying, it says, yes, I want a successful business. I want all the clients. I want all the things. But again, if the subconscious isn't fully on board with that, she's in charge. That's not going to happen. It is the subconscious mind that is essentially in control at this point of you achieving what you want to achieve, you having the business that you want to have. It's the subconscious that rules your life, essentially. So in order to understand how to get the subconscious on board with whatever your conscious mind says it wants, excuse me, we have to take a step back and learn a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not going to go down any crazy tangents, but and I'm not going to get too scientific-y with it, but we kind of do have to understand a little bit about how your brain works. So I'm going to keep it really simple. But essentially, there's two sides of the brain, right? There's the left side of the brain where you're kind of like analytical, and we'll call that the conscious, just to keep it really super simple. It's the logical, analytical, like the mind that you're kind of aware of. But then you have this whole other part that we're discussing today, and that is that unconscious, right? It's the imagination, the feeling, the like all of the creative parts of the brain. This is, let's call it the subconscious or the unconscious part of the brain. And it houses all of those unconscious parts of ourselves. It houses our habits and the way that we show up and all of those things. It houses all of that unconsciously, right? And this is, again, this is the part that it gets tricky because you're literally not aware of it because it's under the conscious awareness. So you're not even aware of it. And Angela said, I'm so analytical. Yeah, most of us are. A lot of us really are. So, but the kind of like, you know, bad news, good news, like we talked about, is it's like your entire business success really comes down to that self-image. It comes down to how are you showing up on an everyday basis? And are you showing up kind of in that lower level version of you or as the higher magical version of you? And when you really break it down into like the nitty gritty, what that actually means is how are you showing up in your everyday little actions, because it really is the everyday little actions that lead us to those big results. But what happens is we go on autopilot and the unconscious just takes completely over, and whatever it is that we're used to doing, we just do those things, and we do it completely unaware that we're even doing these things. And a lot of times there are things in our everyday life, especially when it comes to our businesses, that are not moving us toward our goals, right? We stay in fear, we stay in overwhelm, we say we're busy and yet nothing really gets done. We're not really all that productive, or we are, but the money's not coming. It's like, you know, we really have to work on some of these things. So an example of how this works and how you can kind of, how you can kind of get your mind around this is when you're driving. When you drive in your car, you aren't like, okay, I'm going to put my car into reverse, and then I'm going to put my pedal on the floor, and then I'm going to back out and turn around. Like, you don't do that. You don't tell yourself all of those things when you're driving. You just get in your car and you kind of zone out. Then you get to the destination, and sometimes you're like, I don't even remember driving, especially if you kind of zone out and like go on, a tangent in your brain about whatever it is that, what we all do it, whatever it is that's kind of grabbing at our attention at the moment. And then we get to where we were driving to, and we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember driving here. I don't know about you, but that has happened to me too many times to even count. So this is an example, though, this is one small example of how this can play out. It plays out in your business as well, not just driving and zoning out, but you essentially zone out and you live almost your entire life, unless you get off of autopilot, you are living on autopilot. And we don't even realize how that is showing up in the business. But really, unless you are aware of these certain things, you're running your business on autopilot. And so if you've kind of tapped out at a certain level, because we all do that, we all get to that level, right? We all get to that thermostat setting, and then bam, we just kind of stall out there, and we're like, okay, why am I stalling out? But every single day you're doing the exact same thing, and you're always busy, and you're always saying the same things to yourself, and you're always overwhelmed, and you're always anxious, and you're always stressed out to the point of burnout, right? These are all ways that we just automatically go into that almost every single day. So the point here is you have to get conscious to this. You have to get off of autopilot. And so how do you do that? Let me take another drink. If you hadn't noticed, I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. Done a lot of talking over the last 3 days. Okay, so the first step is just the awareness. Like, just the fact that you're even here and you're even like listening to this right now, you joined this 3-day workshop. The fact that you even did that is you starting to become aware, and you starting to get off of autopilot, because now you're thinking about it in a little bit of a different way. Hopefully by the 3rd day, you're kind of going, okay, some things are shifting now. Some things, I'm understanding things in a different way. I'm understanding the way that my thoughts affect me and my behavior. I'm understanding the way that I've been told stories all my life, and I just sort of accepted them as true. So just by you showing up and signing up for this and then participating, you're already starting to unravel some of this. But of course, you know this, our brains are extremely complex. But the part that I want you to kind of zone into and pay attention to, and maybe you aren't fully aware of, is how much control you actually have, right? We talked yesterday about how powerful you are, about how you can create whatever it is that you want to create. And it really starts here. It really starts with the brain and understanding the conscious and subconscious parts of ourselves. So you have way more control over what is going on in your brain and in the unconscious parts of yourself than you even have any clue about. And again, you're still just scratching the surface to some of these things, because again, it is very complex and there's a lot that goes on with this. But you have more control over what you program your brain with or reprogram your brain with than you have any clue about in this moment. So how do we reach our business goals with this? How do we apply this to our business? And the whole point is that once you understand how some of these things work, and once you understand how to kind of get a direct line to your subconscious, which I'm going to explain in a little bit, you can literally start one by one, plucking out those unconscious and unhelpful blocks that are in your way. And once you start doing that, that's when you can start fully embodying that magical version of you, that version of you of the fullest potential, that highest version. People talk about that, right? Like, show up as your greatest self, show up as your highest self. And it's like, well, how do I do that? This is how. You have to get those unconscious and subconscious blocks that literally keep you in that ceiling, right? Hitting up against that ceiling all the time. Once you do that, that ceiling removes. Once you get those unhelpful beliefs out of there, then you start showing up as that version of yourself. Then you start taking those actions that you need to take. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute as well. So Albert Einstein said, imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Do you understand what that means? And I'm going to break it down further. But Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds of all time, one of the most genius people, is talking about imagination and how it's the preview of life's coming attractions. That means whatever is coming down the pike for you starts up here. And I'm going to unravel this again. Everything that you have ever done in your entire life has started in your mind first. It has started up here first. So I want you to really think about this for a second, even you analytical ones. When you really sit and think about it, anytime you've ever had an idea for a new project, a new service in your business, I don't care if it's just thinking about going to the grocery store, you always come up with it in your mind first, right? So that means that before you ever have gotten to work and do anything, right? Gotten to work on that project or gone and talked to a client or reached out to a client, you first had the idea about doing that in your mind first. So it happened in your mind before you ever did anything. So this is already one way that you're using that vision or your imagination to create. Does that make sense? Okay, but here's a piece that you might not know yet. And that is that any image that you then infuse or add really strong emotion to, your subconscious cannot tell if you imagined it or if it's real. So your subconscious mind literally does not know whether something that you imagine in your mind is true or if you just made that up. So what happens is when you really get your imagination on board with things, and I'm going to prove this to you in just a second, things start to happen at a really rapid rate. Okay, this is all scientifically proven. You can go look it up for yourselves. But what happens is that literally the reticular activating system in your brain starts to kick in and look for ways to make it happen. So I'm going to prove to you right now how you're already doing this. So again, unconsciously, right? It's under the surface. You may not even be fully doing it on purpose, but you are already doing it. This is why so many times we create what we don't want, okay? So I'm sure you can think about 10 different ways that you have actually used your imagination to create something that you want in your life, but I bet it's really easy for you to look around and see how you have actually used this to create stuff that you don't want, okay? So think about this for a second. Worry, fear, frustration, worry about how you're going to pay your bills, worry about where your next client is going to come from. thinking about how nobody wants to hear from you, thinking about all of these things that we don't want, those evoke extremely strong emotion. They create visions in our mind, and they are the literal stories that we then tell, right? So you're literally already doing this. You're doing it about how if it's hard for you to make money in your business. You're doing this if you're telling yourself that clients are really hard to find, and then you add that frustration and you add that worry and you add that fear. You're doing it if you're constantly like worried or in fear of raising the prices for your business. These are all ways that you are using your mind, using your imagination for life's coming attractions. You're literally creating all of it up here first. So when we want to switch it around and we really want to start creating what we do want, we write down our goals and we make a vision board and we, do all of these things. And while those are great things to do, right? They're really fantastic. I love my vision board, but they like even saying affirmations. This is all left brain. This is all analytical, right? It's conscious. So if you want to do things faster, get to those business goals faster, create the business that you want faster, you have to do something else. I'm reading the comments. It's a lot of fun to look back now and notice all the things I've created in my mind. The realization that we create our own realities has been a powerful realization for me. Yeah, I love that. It is so true. Okay, so what do we have to do to start fast tracking what we do want instead of what we don't want? And that is where we started, this third pillar, right? You have to merge the internal with the external. You have to match the conscious vision, what you say you want, with the subconscious beliefs and what you actually have or create over and over again, right? And you can do this when you flip the script and start having direct access to the subconscious mind. So by tapping into that right side of the brain or the subconscious mind, that's how we do this. So, but the thing is, like, if we don't clear those out, if we don't align, if we don't have those two things aligning, that's when we get stuck. That's when you're not consistent with your goals. And one of the biggest things I hear from women is, well, I set a goal, but then I just kind of am not really consistent with it for whatever reason, a myriad of reasons, right? I'm not really consistent with showing up online, or I'm not really consistent with reaching out to clients, or I'm not really consistent with whatever, however you're building your business. That's when you tend to stay in overwhelm. That's when you're not showing up and being visible, and you start sabotaging yourself left and right, and you just knock the knees out of all of the things that you say that you want to do, and you don't even do it on purpose, right? It even could be so much as like, this is an example I hear from people all the time, but one of my clients, even, she started seeing all these really amazing results, and then all of a sudden, boom, her car got towed, and it was like, $150 to get it out of the impound and like all this stuff. So there are ways that until we clear this stuff out and get to that next level, we continue to sabotage ourselves in all of these different ways. Okay. So that is pillar 3. And I'm going to give you a little bit more to that in just a little bit. But I want to continue on with something that we haven't talked about yet. And that is the action piece, right? Of course, we have to take action. Of course, you have to go out and do stuff. And we're going to talk about that now. But I want to be really clear that we didn't start there. We started with a vision. We started with the self-image and who it is that we need to show up as every single day, that highest version of ourselves, and embodying that. We started with alignment, with that imagery, with that imagination, with the subconscious. We started there. Then we move into action. This is what I was meaning when I keep saying that coaches, healers, light workers, creative entrepreneurs, you're doing it backwards, because you're like, what action can I take? And then you take a little bit of action and then you fall off the wheel. And then you take a little bit of action and it doesn't work out. You take a little bit of an action and you manifest a parking ticket, right? We cannot start with the action. You have to start with pillar 1 and then build on pillar 2 and then build on pillar 3. And then we come around to the action. Does that make sense? So the whole thing is that you don't need more information about strategy and how to work harder and hustle more. You don't need to overplan. You don't need to get more training. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't definitively, but 9 times out of 10, you're good, right? And you can always continue to grow and build. But you don't necessarily need to get another certification before you can work with people. You don't need to wait for the perfect time. The missing piece is learning processes that help you trust yourself to be your own guide and your own guru. Tapping into your own internal guidance system, right? And listening to your intuition to where it is guiding you to take more action, more courageous action, right? That is the piece. Again, we're not starting there. We have to get these other pillars and pieces of the puzzle in place and solid before we even can understand what our intuition is trying to tell us and where it's trying to guide us. But this is the other piece. This is the 4th piece that if you don't do, nothing else works. You have to take big, bold, scary, out of your comfort zone action. So how do you do that? Okay, so the antidote to all of the fear, all of the self-doubt, all of this junk that comes up for us is always, always courage. There's no other way around it. There is never a time where you're not going to feel some kind of fear come up as you're doing new things, right? Yes, as you do it, it gets easier. But initially, there's always this period of holding ourselves back from taking that big, bold, courageous action that our intuition is leading us to. Once we've understood how to tap into that, then we know, we're like, okay, I know that what I'm really feeling led to is speaking on a bigger stage this year. But I don't know if I want to speak on a bigger stage, because who would want to hear from me? And that sounds really scary. And there's going to be a lot of people. And what if I screw up? And I've never done this before, right? Like all of this stuff. Do you see how this plays out? All of this stuff comes out. And so the antidote is courage. That is the only way through it, is finding your courage. So I love this quote by Carrie Fisher. Stay afraid, but do it anyway. What's important is the action. You don't have to wait to be confident. Just do it, and eventually the confidence will follow. And that is the big secret that all successful people know. But they don't just know it, they embody it. Because if you see this other graph I have over here of the 2%, 98% of the population, that means most people are going to just stay right in that comfort zone. It is only 2% of people who are willing to do the work that is outside of it. And that is acting in spite of the fear and going after the big dreams and going where your intuition is leading you. So everything you want, that's why this quote exists, right? This Jack Canfield quote that everybody has always heard. We've all heard it. But everything you want is on the other side of fear. Well, how do you get to the other side of fear? Courage. Another way that I really like to share about this that can help you kind of redefine how you're looking at this is sometimes the fear is coming from us focusing on ourselves and not focusing on our bigger mission or how we can help people. So Dale Carnegie says, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. That's so huge. That means how can you, instead of staying in your, I don't know if anybody's gonna like me, or what if I screw up, instead of staying in that perpetual state of, I don't know if I'm good enough for this, how can you turn it around and not make it about you, but make it about the people that you are here to help? What if you could just help one person? What if you could change that person's life? Would you then get out of your own way and show up? And then another thing here is that you just have to give yourself permission to suck, permission to be a beginner. So this goes for getting online, or like I said, getting on a bigger stage and speaking on a stage at all. Maybe it's even a small stage to begin with, but maybe you're a little bit afraid to do that because you've never done it before. Well, anytime you're learning something new, you're probably not going to be very good at it. And the whole thing is that you're not supposed to be. You didn't start off knowing how to walk. You had to get up, crawl a little bit, get up, fall down, and then get back up. That is how greatness is achieved, is one little teeny tiny thing at a time, and overcoming the small things to get to the big things. But you have to take the perfection pressure off of you if you want to achieve anything. If you want a successful business, you have to get out of this perfectionist fear of like, I'm not good enough, and let yourself show up as a beginner to get great at it. You just have to do it, right? Like, you really do just have to go and take that crazy big action that makes you feel super uncomfortable. So are you willing to do that? Like, are you willing to do whatever it takes to have the business that you want, to grow the business that you're meant to have, to create that impact in the world? Are you willing to do what it takes? So all of this to say, you're probably realizing kind of like how you've gotten to where you are in your business. And you may even be at a pretty great level. Maybe you're not exactly where you want to be, though. And so now you have an understanding of why you haven't gotten beyond that level. So essentially, like we talked about, you've just hit that thermostat. You've hit that internal thermostat. And in order to go beyond where you are now, all you need to do is figure out how to get right to that subconscious mind and begin to change all of those internal beliefs and recreate that self-image, that internal self-image. So again, the question is kind of like, well, why am I not there yet? And the answer is, there's just something caught in your subconscious that kind of keeps you from embodying the magical you. Maybe you can set the goal, right? But you're not fully embodying that full potential you. There's something keeping you in fear or overwhelm or self-doubt or being afraid of failure, all these things, right? All these things listed here. Maybe you're afraid of criticism. Maybe you're afraid it'll be too much, all of these things. And this is what keeps you from it keeps you on autopilot, right? And it keeps you from taking that next fourth pillar step of those big, bold, courageous actions, the one that you are intuitively led to. It actually even keeps you out of your intuition, because the highest version of you is extremely intuitive. But this lower version of ourselves, right? This fully only conscious version is not even tapped into those things. So it's like you can't even fully understand what direction you're being led to. So wrapping up a little bit is like they're going back to the pillars. You can kind of see how this all fits into place now. The vision is where you're going to go. What does your soul want you to do? What are you here to do? What's the impact you're meant to make in the world? And how can you create the self-image that has already created that? How can you live and embody daily that magical version of you? And part of doing that is aligning subconsciously and having that full direct line to the subconscious to start rewiring it for success and removing the blocks that keep you stuck. And then that is when you can take that really intuitive and courageous action. So I want to highlight one of my gals here, Danny, who worked with me, and she's amazing. I got to just give her a little shout out. She's a virtual assistant and she is absolutely incredible. But after working together, you can read kind of like what she has here. But the moral of the story is that she was able to fully book out her business after she removed all of the limitations that she had herself had put on herself. And she was able to fully book out her business and have a wait list. And I want that for you too. So really quickly, let's recap this. And it's just really boils down to understanding how to align the conscious and the subconscious mind. I've heard it said this way too, and I think it is so powerful because it is the truth. Your conscious is your will, but your subconscious is your power. So a lot of times people will say, I just don't have the willpower for X, Y, or Z, or I don't have the, whatever. And it's like, you're missing the power. You have the will, you're missing the power. And the subconscious is where the power is. And once you understand how to get your subconscious on board with what it is that you want to create, everything gets easier. And so I want to offer you a little bit of assistance, and I'm going to tell you about it in just a second, but I do want to share with you one more of my clients. And she said, sometimes I just need a little push from someone who's been through it and who has the tools to get me to where I want to go. And Sarah is that person. She is able to instantly pull back the curtain of my fog when I'm lost myself in indecision and doubt. She provides the kind of coaching I need, supportive, without coddling. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little no nonsense, but only because out of love and I want the best for you. And she gives tools and exercises that I can apply immediately. That is how I roll. I want you to have success. That is my only objective, is for you to thrive in your business. So the old way is all about showing up as you are now, not as the highest self, hustling until you're exhausted, you're fatigued, and you're just completely burnt out. It's all about looking for the new strategy of business or a magic pill or whatever. And it's continuing the old habits and patterns, which are just giving you the same old results. It's the old way is continuing to unconsciously sabotage yourself. But because of the Magik Method and the way that I've been able to combine everything, including science, including spirituality and the laws of the universe, I have created an entire map for you to follow that will literally help you rewire all of those subconscious beliefs and head you straight towards success. You will understand how to fully merge and step into that magical version of you. And I want to introduce you to my Becoming Magical Academy. You have the last 3 days worth of material, and they are the pillars of the Magik Method. That alone, if you just take that and implement what I have given you, it will change your life. But I can help you do that faster. And I want to explain everything about that in the academy that I have set up. It is a 12-week immersion coaching program for women entrepreneurs, coaches, creatives, healers, to activate your own spiritual gifts, all of that magic that's already there, and harness your power and the power of the visible and the invisible, right? That's where this makes so much magic and will head you in the right direction to create business results 10 times faster. It's going to free you from that self-doubt and that overwhelm and the sabotage and the fear and all of those things that are under the iceberg, right? We're going to get those out of the way like that and get you to actualize all of those business dreams. It's a direct line. This is the direct line to your subconscious mind. So what does the academy include? And then I'm going to break it down for you really quickly. There are 12 pre-recorded training modules that you get access to 1 week at a time. There's weekly homework, powerful PDF workbooks, and you get lifetime access to all of the modules and all of the workbooks. There's a live group coaching element where we get on Zoom calls, kind of like this, but where we can all see each other's faces, and answers to all of your questions and coaching along with that. There's a full training that teaches you exactly how to reprogram your subconscious mind. There are visualizations, hypnosis audios, which give you that direct line right to the subconscious. And of course, an amazing, amazing community of similar women who are on a similar path. There is just no other thing out there where women like this can come together. There's nothing like community. And in a setting like this where you are trying to activate your magic and grow your business, this is so vital. Okay, so let me break down each week for you. On week 1, it's a more in-depth version of our day 1 here. So we get really clear on what it is that we want to create. And you're going to become unapologetic for all of the big goals that you have and learn how to break them down into actual achievable goals. So we didn't get to do that in day 1. This is how we can break everything down so that we can start to implement everything. In week 2, you will learn a 5-step process, which is my Magic Mirror method, and the process of fully merging with that magical version of you. So you literally understand how to become that version of you. It is a kind of like a reverse engineer process. And I gave you a little tiny taste of that because I want you to see how powerful this can be. But we go really deep. I have an entire assessment, and then there's a technique that I'll teach you where you can actually merge with that version of you. And again, you're kind of like changing some of your brainwave states that help move that thermostat, that help create that movement quickly. In week 3, this is where things get really on fire and you learn the entire program to fully reprogram your subconscious mind for success, right? You're going to reset that thermostat. And this is the piece that I just don't see other coaches really offering, and the piece of the puzzle that was always missing for me. This is quantum creation. And it's an entire module dedicated to helping you understand how you can really access that subconscious part of yourself and create those changes very, very quickly. It uses a brainwave state of like, so I have here, there's beta, which is kind of what you're in right now. There's alpha, which is more like meditation. And then there's the, if you drop down even further all the way to delta, you're asleep. But there's one kind of in between meditation and fully sleep. And that is where the direct line to the subconscious is. That is the magic creation change state. And that is what I can help you with inside of the program. You're going to be doing that all throughout the 12 weeks. And then on week 4, you totally become rejection proof. So we learn the 6 steps to your amazing self-esteem to really raise your standards so that you can really receive. Most of us, if we're coaches and healers and creatives, we're givers, right? We need to learn also how to receive gracefully and with love, but still, that is an important part of reaching your goals, is learning how to receive. So you're going to totally reset your self-esteem and your self-worth, which of course also is tied into your net worth. In week 5, this is kind of like the secret to staying on track, how to set those habits, that the small daily actions that are going to totally create your magical life. And then in week 6, again, you see how this is those pillars. Then we learn how to get into action, how to let go of the fear of being seen and putting yourself out there, and release perfectionism and really get into that intuitive side. Week 7, there's so much going on here. We keep this as an integration week. So there's a live coaching call like every single week, but this week is just all about integrating and really letting things settle in. And it is also the week that you really start to see things kind of lit on fire. It's really cool. Week 8 is kind of this unsexy side to success and how to stay on track, what to do if you ever fall off course. Week 9 is one of probably the favorite modules that I've heard people talk about, and that is fully transforming your money story and your relationship to money and being able to play it as a game that you can win. It's expanding your thinking, and there are, hypnosis stuff all throughout this to really help get your brain wave state in that creation mode. Week 10, as you start to grow, you're going to hit that limit again. So what do you do? How do you handle that? How do you handle when people don't believe in your dreams, or they're trying to kind of like kill your dreams? Week 11 is all about releasing negative energy, the emotional guidance system, how to handle when you create something that you don't want, because initially when we're new to this, that will come up. How to create success if you experience the fear and the anxiety. We're going to move through all of these things. And then finally, week 12 is really understanding that personal power that we have and evaluating where you are from where you started. You will be shocked. You will be shocked, just like all of my clients are. And then, of course, there will be a wrap-up session. There are 2 bonuses that I want to mention. There's one that is all about sales success. So the sales conversation, and guess what? If you are in business, you are in sales. So understanding how to have the sales conversation, how to prepare your energy, how to really like step in and own any kind of sales conversation. And then bonus 2 is planning with the moon. So how does the moon energy affect your business, and how to work with the earth cycles to continue to set yourself up for success along the way. And then there's rituals included in this, and it's amazing. So what is different about this course? Well, there's 4 main things. I've already mentioned the community. It is so incredible. The other things are the conscious and the subconscious alignment, right? Most programs out there skip this step, and it is the most vital step to your success, period. If you don't get that direct access to your subconscious mind and get those things aligned, those 2 areas aligned, you're not going to be able to move that. It's just not going to happen. It just does not happen. You will continue to hit that ceiling. And then, of course, rewiring your brain for success. And then the third thing is the immersion. You are not just reading a book. You're not just going to a 2-day live event. You're not just, coming for 3 weeks and sending you on your way. You are immersed in this world for 12 entire weeks of embodying this and getting coaching around any of the blocks that come up. And I just have to mention that not all coaching is created equal. There's a ton of coaches out there and a ton of amazing coaches, and I'm not trying to discount any of them, but do they know how to really shift people? Do they understand how to reprogram that subconscious and really change things quickly? So whatever you do, whether you invest in this program or some other program, whatever you do, find someone who knows about the subconscious and how to remove those blocks. I want to mention too, there are audios woven all throughout this that are really very, very powerful. And I want to mention some extras that you get on top of it. You get a subconscious client attraction. There's a higher self that helps you unlock your intuition. There's a money magnet one, the magic mirror one, and a full entire program on the quantum creation. So I want to kind of wrap up, leaving you with another story of one of my clients. And this is Jessica. And she said, I've had more work come in than I've had in months, and in turn made more revenue than I've made in a while. Sarah was able to get to the core of my unhealthy beliefs and bring to light what was holding me back. There was an energy shift, and Sarah is amazing. But more than anything, I want you to see that this moves the needle in your business. So who is this for? Well, if you have a business or you have a clear vision for a business, you must be spiritually minded. You must be incredible at what you do. I only want to work with people who are really good at what they do, like the best kept secret in your industry. You must hold yourself to the highest standards of integrity. And you must be serious about wanting to grow and wanting to be visible in your business. And last but not least, you must be coachable. Because as you may have realized, I am not for everyone. And I do give a little tough love at times. It is love, but it is still not for people who are going to show up and complain or whine or not be able to be coachable. So that is who this is for. If this is something that sounds like it was made for you, then I want you to join the wait list. The program is not open yet. It will be in the next couple of days. So I want you to just join the wait list so you can get some more information about what is going to occur and if this is going to be right for you. And the wait list is just bit.ly/magical with a K, MAGIKAL wait list. And so if it is for you, then please, whatever you do, join the wait list and get on there now, because I only have a few slots available. So that wraps up our time together. If as you watch this and you watch the other days, you have any questions about any of it, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I am here for you if you have any additional questions. I will be popping back in on Friday with some extra goodies for you, and I'm gonna talk to you through a little bit more of this if you are, for the people who are interested in really taking everything to the next level and they're serious about removing all of those subconscious blocks that get in the way. So if that is you, please, whatever you do, join the wait list so I can give you a little bit more information to see if you're a good fit for this program. Because again, I am a little bit picky about the people that I work with, because I only want to work with people that I know are going to show up and do the work. If that's not you, don't even get on the wait list, because I don't want to work with people who aren't willing to do the work, because you're not going to get results. But if you are willing to show up and do this work and dive in and fully dedicate yourself to the process over a 12-week period, you literally will create magic in your life, like the other clients that I've mentioned. And I haven't even scratched the surface of what they've accomplished. And I'm going to share some of their stories over the next couple of days as well. So I want you to fully consider what your life is going to be like, not just a year from now, but think further out. Like we did the visualization, right? We did our visualization about 3 to 5 years from today, where you will be in your life if you've created everything that you want to create. But on the flip side of that, where will you be in your life if you don't remove the blocks that keep you where you are now? Where will you be? You're not going to be where you are now. You're going to be much worse off. You're going to go backward because of all the time you will have wasted and the money that will have not been there. Whereas if you dedicate just 12 weeks and you go all in, the magic that awaits you is absolutely endless. The possibilities are so incredible. And I want that for you so much. So make sure whatever you do that you get on the wait list. So bit.ly/magical with a K wait list. And I will see you back in the group. If you have any questions, let me know.